What's up and what's happening, TPE fam? We're back with another episode of the Pivot Experience, and this is a special one. I just wanted to intro this one and kind of give you guys some context of what happened recently. Had a coaches meetup here in town, and we had the opportunity to record some content, and we had the opportunity to talk about leading up. I think this is something that we all experience on both ends, whether that's from a having someone trying to lead up to us or us leading up to our superiors. And so I think we had a great conversation around this idea. And I can't wait for you guys to jump into the episode and really get a grasp and an understanding of what we think about leading up, and some of the things that we can do in our organizations to create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable leading up, and adding value. So let's dive into the episode. Um, What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another episode of the Pivot Experience podcast where we're focusing on helping leaders pivot into their next. And today is a very special episode. A little awkward for me if I was to be transparent, but we have full on TPE in the house today, where it's myself, the other coaches that I have the opportunity and I am blessed to work with are here with us today. And we're going to be talking about how to lead up, whether we realize it or not. No matter what position we are in, we've all have had to face this idea of impacting change from leaders that are above us and also receiving that same level of feedback. And so I think this topic can be discussed by us because we all have experienced that in some form or capacity. And also, full disclosure, also a number of the spouses of the coaches are in the room as well. They are not on camera, and they probably do not want me to say this, but if you hear them in the background, or you hear some other chatter that's not on camera, that's going to be from them, hoping they'll care to join us in the conversation. But before we dive into the topic, I would like for everyone to introduce themselves. You guys know that I'm Alex. I've worked for the world's most caring company for the last 20 years, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to run this. I don't know what you want to call it. It's currently a coaching business, but it's kind of from podcast to speaking to content creation to this current iteration of what we're doing. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of great people over the last 20 years, and I think none better than the people that I'm currently working with in TPE. And that's no disrespect to anybody who's listening to this that I currently work with over at the other place. But I truly have come to know these individuals. We've learned each other's strengths and weaknesses, and I would like to think that we're leveraging those to our highest capacities from one to another. But that's enough for me. I will kick it off to the person to my left. Introduce yourself. Who are you, and what are you about?
All right, I'm Javonna Roach, and I have worked for the world's most caring company as well for over 23 years. Can't even believe that when I think about it. But I've been a part of TPE. Alex has brought us on all because he was kind of a solo act. But I've worked for TPE for maybe 9 months now. 9 months,
Yep.
I think it's about
Yep.
9 months. And I have several clients, and it's one of my favorite parts of my week is I get to talk to people about them leading up in their businesses. And I just really enjoy getting to share the knowledge I have. But also, I think one of the biggest things that I really enjoy is getting to grow as an individual as well and as a leader, just learning from other leaders how things are going in their businesses. And just getting to see all the different sides of the business. So that's what makes me excited about TP. And I'm excited today about today's podcast because, yes, our spouses are in the room and we would love for them to join in at some point. And they all have a lot of experience in the restaurant business as well. So,
Yeah. I'm actually Allison. I'm a wife, mom to almost 2-year old. And I've been in leadership for a little bit over 7 years. I also work at the world's most caring company. But also with TPE. And with TPE, we get to coach and develop leaders, all ages, all aspects of their careers, and just help them become a better leader and a better person in and outside the restaurant.
All right. And I'm Neftali Franco. I've been with Chick-fil-A for about 10 years now. Um, and then now with TPE for about 6 months. And it's been a huge blessing to be able to work with this group of people, be able to talk to other leaders, and I'm excited for what's ahead of us.
but can you say like a little bit of that in like Spanish? Like just a little blurb.
Mi nombre es Neftali Franco. He trabajado con Chick-fil-A por casi 10 años y llevo como unos 6 meses trabajando para TPE, para el negocio de coaching, y yo me encargo del lado de español, para la gente que necesita ayuda para mejorar su liderazgo o poder cambiar resultados en el negocio en el que te encuentras.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah, TPE Espanol all the way. And just, for reference, this group isn't just together by happenstance. I think we all had some history with each other. I think Neff, you came and worked at the restaurant. What was that, like 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? My timeline is mad off.
Your time messed up. That was in the winter of 2016.
Yeah, okay, that was a long,
Wow.
long time ago. Yeah, a long, long time ago. I remember that, and I remember, this happened off camera. Nev's kind of the techies in the group of the four of us. Not to say that y'all aren't techies, but I
Y'all are the
think I
techies.
think
I'm definitely not.
did you have iPad Pro? Was it
Yeah.
or it was he was like one of the first people like outside of myself that had an iPad. I was like, it was like the moment you see like the hey, what's up? It was like this. When
Yep,
when
yep.
he came on and worked for us for a little while, and I know Javonna, I've had run-ins with you several times because of our affiliation through the world's most caring company. We've had some interesting interactions. We've challenged each other for a long time, directly and indirectly, and it's been kind of cool just to be able to work with you. And Ashley, we kind of do the work thing on a day-to-day basis. I think we try to keep what we do and keep each other as balanced as possible. So I'm just grateful for the connection between the four of us, and thank the spouses in the room. Appreciate you guys for. I know there's probably sometimes just transparently for folks out there listening. There was one point in time we was meeting every Wednesday, every Saturday in the morning time, absorbing all of the time. And I'm sure maybe not the newest wed it couple in the room. Maybe not didn't have Roy, but the other folks that got kids and other things involved were kind of maybe side eyeing what we were doing. But I appreciate you guys allowing y'all spouses to participate in the capacity that they have been. It's truly been a blessing to not only ourselves, but the people we've had an opportunity to impact. I know Javonna, you mentioned, and also you, Ashley, just being able to speak into the lives of other people. That transparently that you don't have to work with all the time, so you can really just be upfront about what you feel about what they're doing. And I think we've all had the opportunity to see the fruits of that labor and see the fruits of what people's actions and just their development as a whole. So I kind of want to kick our conversation off and leading up. It's like, what inspired you to get into leadership? Like, what was it about the world's most caring company, Chick-fil-A? I just say it. What made it about Chick-fil-A or the world's most caring company that you wanted to like pursue a career in leadership?
I would say first, just influence. I mean, if you read anything from John Maxwell or you listen to any of his podcasts, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, that's probably one of the best known leadership books out there. But leadership is influence. That's what he says. And so I think just wanting to make the biggest impact I can on the world is through other people. I can't go to other countries every week. I can't, but what I can do is I can make a difference in the lives of those around me. And I think that's what leadership gives you the opportunity to do, is to make a difference in somebody's life. And a lot of times we don't even know the difference. Like, our jobs is just to plant seeds. And so I think I've always wanted to make a difference. And how better can I make a difference by making sure that I worked into a leadership position to where I could make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think as a Christ follower, I think it's a perfect platform to be able to share and plant seeds, like you just said, of what true love is in Jesus Christ. And it allows us, and thankfully we work for a company that allows us to share certain values that align with those. And it's been really helpful to be able to kind of get a platform where you can do things for other people and really show other people what that love means. And it's a love that comes through knowing Jesus Christ. And so I think, although it's a little bit off like and to the religion side of things, I think it's been a really great place to be able to do that and be able to display some of those characteristics that we're called to show as Christians.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'll come from, I guess, the generation. I never thought about like being in leadership when it comes to in the workplace. Like during youth group, I was part of like leadership, youth group, church, things like that. And then I always messaged Alex one day. He's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about being in leadership?" And I'm like, sure. But I think just, to whoever those out there who aren't in a leadership title, it's like leadership isn't a shirt, it isn't a position. Like you can lead from wherever you are. So it's like just making sure like you're doing the right thing all the time, no matter who's watching. And that really does allow you to influence those around you, right? Just because if I, change your shirt to blue today, like you're the same person. Like those values don't change overnight. So it's like always being willing to, be your true self and help those around you to better themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I guess for me, like, I never, to Ashley's point, I never really thought about like the prospect of being a leader, like from the
Mm-hmm.
title. Like, it was just, I did my first grand opening in 2008. And prior to that, I was going to school for mechanical engineering. Like, that was going to be the thing. I was going to be an engineer. That's, you couldn't tell me any different. But then I went, uh, and did that grand opening and got a chance to kind of listen to a GOS talk about his ability to make decisions and get the immediate, like, hey, this is the bottleneck, this is the idea. And he had the, now thinking back on it, he had the respect of the people around him for him just to listen to the idea and implement it, and you can see immediate change. Something about that was like magnetic to me. Like, I wanted to be able to, all right, I think in the engineering capacity, you'll be able to use your mind to create ideas, but it won't be nothing immediate. Like, if you come up with an idea, you have to test it. You got to do this. You got to do that. With Chick-fil-A, like, it was like, so I just love the idea of being able to solve problems. And I think being a leader gave me the access to being able to solve issues and help other people solve issues and set lofty goals and go, well, how do we get from point A to point B, and then working towards making it happen. So I think that's been the allure of the job for me in terms of being a leader, is those aspects of it. All great answers in terms of how we like people, or not like, how we love people, how we're motivated towards helping other people. So that's fantastic. So to get really like into the meat of our conversation, and today we're talking about, leading up. And again, leading up looks differently from each person. I'm sure you guys have different levels of perspective on that. And so, can you talk about an instance where you've had to lead up? Like, is there a time in your leadership career or before you were a leader that you felt like you needed to lead up? What was the situation? You ain't got to put no names on those on the situation, but how did you navigate that, and what was the outcome?
I would say I'm having a hard time of like coming up with one instance right now, but I think we're called daily to lead up. Um, and one thing I think about when I'm thinking about leading up is like parenting. Several of us, actually three of us are parents. But not getting, tit for tat, not getting on their level, like making sure that we stay above. And in leadership, I think it's kind of the same way of like making sure that when we're leading our team that we're not leading in such a way that it's at their level, but really pushing ourselves and pushing the leaders around us to think differently. Because that's what creates really great results is really working towards. So I mean, I don't know of a like exact example. I don't know if y'all have exact examples, but I feel like daily I'm called to lead up, and I'm called to have my leaders lead up. And so I don't know if I have like a specific example. I just feel like it's every day there's a situation where I'm like, okay, I've got to lead up, or I've got to call the leader next to me to lead up.
So I love that answer, and that was very like diplomatic of you to answer that. So, like, I guess for additional context for those of you who are watching, so like, aside from our roles here at TPE, right, we both operate in a similar capacity for the entities that we work for organizationally, right? So for most people who are watching this, most likely, and then for the folks who are in the room, we all work in a business structure that has an operator or a owner operator, and then there is a hierarchy thereafter, right? So let's just hypothetically speak. not in specifics, right? Hypothetically speaking, let's just say in your organization that you currently fictitiously represent is you're so there's the operator and there's you, right?
Mhm.
How do you lead up to your operator?
Interesting question. I honestly think it's like getting on the same page and really talking about, are you there for the same reason? Like that's been a conversation that me and my operator have had a lot, is like, hey, are you like, do you want what's best for the business? Yes. Okay, answer that. Okay, do I want what's best for the business? Yes. Okay, so who's going to take leadership in this matter? And I think that's like realizing that you're all on the same page working towards the same thing then helps when there's rub in the road of like, hey, I might want one thing, or Ashley might want one thing, or Neff might want one thing. At the end of the day, we want the same thing. We want what's best for the business. We want what's best for our team. And there's two parts to it. There's that results side of like making more money as a business, or spending less money as a business, and then, the people side of the business, which costs a lot of money. And I'm very results driven. So for me, we've taken this different assessments, but like I'm very results driven. Neff's more people driven. So making sure that you work with those around you and you use them to their strengths, I think is what makes us a pretty great business. Is we're all called to lead in different manners and fashions, and we all have different strengths and weaknesses. So really understanding those, but then understanding that the outcome that you want is the same. And there's, y'all have heard that phrase, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's a million ways to run a business. We run our businesses very differently. But at the end of the day, if you were to ask us what were our top 3 results that we wanted, we would probably say the same thing.
Sure.
And so just realizing that we're all different, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. We care about different things differently, but in the end of the day, we want the same result. And that's, we want our people to be cared for. We love them. We want what's best for them. We want them to be able to go to college and learn and grow and give them the tools, training, and support. We want to do that, but that we also want to turn a profit. And so I think just realizing that you're all on the same page, your operator, the ones you surround yourselves with are on the same page, and then saying, hey, I'm not going to really care about the process that you want to do to get to the result we want, but hey, this is the result we want. You go make that happen. So I don't know if I answered that question well, but
No, I'll get you. But I want to see, did anyone else before
I mean, you asked how to operate. I guess I think me and Neff do the same thing. But I think like
So how do you
Alex is like, how do you all do this?
know? Yeah.
I guess like every day our job is to lead up. I think we're between like people in the organization and like how to shape and develop like the people who are newer to the organization. I'll speak for myself. Alex is big visionary, like how can we change this to another thing, and then another thing and another thing. But it's like taking that big, vision and implement it, but also too, it's like also you have to bring the people along with them. And I think that goes to the relationships. It's like you can't, like you said at the grand opening, that leader had relationships, and he had the people who had buy-in and all the things that you need to switch the flip, to change the system. How much we change things, for the better, because we were trying to get faster. We're trying to have a larger profit, and also too, we trying to maintain and grow and develop the people we have. I think and relationships are important, but also too is just realizing you have to have both. You have to have the results and the relationships to run a business. And I think it's like we talk about splitting plates, but I think it's more juggling. You might have to throw one higher while you focus on the catching the one that's closer and the one that's need the most attention, but also to realizing you gotta toss it up and focus on the other one. So I think that's it's an everyday battle, but I like it though. So.
Yeah, I would say getting to know the other person well. So like obviously, like I've known Javonna for 9+ years now, and not always at the capacity of where we are now, but really being able to understand just even body language, tone of voice, like those like tics that people have, like to where when you have conversations with somebody, you're able to really like like when they make a face, like you're like, oh, that probably wasn't great, or like, or okay, I'm going down the right path. and you just learn how to read people. And so I think when we talk about leading up, like, you have to know your audience. You have to know who you're talking to, who it's for, how you're presenting the information, where you're getting your information from, and making sure that you have everything necessary to be able to back up your points and be able to deliver in the correct approach depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah. And I think
with heart.
Yeah.
I think knowing their heart too.
Yeah.
Because that's a piece. Like, you can know their body language, you can know their tone, you can know their face, you can know like all the things that they do, but also know where their heart is, because the heart is what controls all of those things. And so, you know, lots of times, you know, Neff will say something to me and like my face might go south, but he knows that my heart is, you know, in it for him to learn and grow. And so,
and I think that's a big thing, is like bringing also to, like you said, like the information, the facts. You know, I think oftentimes, especially younger leaders, they just go off of feeling and, you know, jump the gun to say, hey, let's change this based off of how one shift goes. But then if you, hey, I'm going to look back over the last 2 months worth of Saturdays to see how things went, the results and things like that, to change that system. So I think just, you know, advice to younger leaders, like to look at the data to help, you know, drive that results and system change.
Alex, you have something to say though. I want to hear what it is.
And I had no. So I guess I guess the one question, and this might not, we might be to pass the moment to answer this question, but I ask it anyway. Like, so are there any moments where you guys are leading up, and some of those things that you might notice, has that stifled you in your ability to lead up? Like one of those facial expressions or one of those like comments, has that, like, did you have all your eggs together to go lead up, and then you were met with a face, and then did that deter you from leading up?
I guess I would say, like Neff says, like knowing the person. Like, I guess me and Alex were like, are we reading too deep into the facial expression or whatnot?
Yeah.
But I think just not being afraid of, like, I think knowing each other's point of view, perspectives, and like at the end of the day, we really want like our businesses to be successful, and just, I guess, having that level of respect for each other to just go with it. I guess for me, it's just.
Well, and when you make a mistake, being willing to say that you made a mistake. Like, I think that for me, like, I have to whisper sometimes to my operator. And he just kind of looks at me. He's like, can you say it a little louder? I'm like, you were right. Like, you know, being able to say, like, when, you know, there are times where we say, hey, we want to do this. And there might be a little bit of a hesitation on the other end, whether Neff comes to me and says, hey, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, but then when you do it and it doesn't go well, being able to say, you were right, I shouldn't have done that. Or when it does go well, not flaunting it like, hey, this went really well and you told me not to do it. I've done that before as well. But going back and saying like, hey, I tried this out and this is the result I got. You know, and I just want what was best for the business, even though you didn't agree with it. So I think the vulnerability of like saying, hey, like you were wrong in a situation, that's also leading up to me. And when you're right, not throwing it in the other person's face of like, I was right, you didn't trust me, I was right.
And I think also to being willing to like say your raw idea. Like, of course, you're gonna have your data, but like, you know, in the beginning stage, because oftentimes one of us might come with the idea, and then we get an even better idea when we bounce ideas back and forth. So not, you know, letting that, oh no, or you can't do this right now, stop you from coming up with a great idea.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think I probably should do better in the area, that one area that
Saying you're wrong.
yeah.
It's not easy in the beginning, but
Yeah.
I think you kind of get you like, it actually kind of makes you feel good of being able to say, you know what, like there's always somebody out there better than you.
Yeah.
So when somebody doesn't trust your idea and you do it and it doesn't work out, being able to come and say like, you know, I was wrong. I don't have all the greatest ideas. Like, that's okay.
But I guess maybe our fault is like, okay, that idea wasn't great, but I'm gonna find a better one now. We're gonna work harder.
Like,
All right. Yeah. And so I think you guys, both of you all, everyone has mentioned like having to empower the other leaders to work with them to do this. How would you say you were able to help someone lead up? Like, what did you get? Do you have an example of someone who you recently had to help with this? What strategies did you deploy, or what things did you do, or what things do you guys normally do to help leaders lead up better?
I think recently one thing that I've realized that we don't do well, that we could work on, is foster an environment of failure. I don't think we do a great job of fostering an environment of failure. Fail first attempt in learning is FAIL. I know y'all like that. So we, if we don't foster an environment of failure, leaders don't try. And I've realized that because they don't want to disappoint us. And so I think one thing recently that I've been trying to do a better job is fostering an environment of failure so that they understand that failure doesn't mean like, oh, no, failure is the first attempt. Like, what's your second attempt? What's your third attempt? Like, how many bad decisions have y'all made in the business? I know I've made a lot.
Yeah.
But it came from a leader who was willing to let me fail. And when I failed, didn't say, I told you so. It was like, okay, that was like, you failed. Sometimes even our failures cost us money. A lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I think one thing we could do a better job in is fostering an environment of failure.
So practically, because you're gonna help me and others out.
So I was like,
Practically, what does fostering fostering an atmosphere of failure? Just because when you say that,
Alex, do you
when you just say that, no, when you look behind you, I mean, this is that man did not look for. We're not fostering. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want clarity. What do you mean? Can you unpack that a little further?
I think a lot of times
Do you want to phone a friend?
I could,
No.
but I think when somebody makes a mistake, we make it a big deal. Or I wouldn't have done it that way. Like, that's the first response a lot of times when somebody makes a mistake is, well, you just did that the wrong way, or I wouldn't have done it that way. Well, of course you wouldn't have done it that way. It's not you, it's somebody else. So I think, the way we respond, the things we say, instead of asking a lot of questions in the environment, we give a lot of statements. Okay, explain to me, what was your thought process around that? Like, there's something around this that's the 5 whys. You should be asking, okay, well, help me understand that. Okay, well, why did you do that? Okay, well, why did that not work? Like, ask 5 whys before you ever give a statement of, that didn't work because you didn't do this, and this is how you should have done it, and this is what you should do next time, and next time the situation comes up, make sure you do it that way. That was a lot of statements.
Yeah.
So asking a lot of questions, and when they make a mistake, don't make it a big deal. Like,
I think too, it was like, if somebody does make a mistake, helping them figure out a solution, like in a moment, versus like you said, downing them, like, oh, just get out the way. I got this. I'm gonna do transition.
I was working with a leader today, actually, who's going through our director program, and we were talking about checklists that we have.
I think I fail at this miserably, by the way. Go ahead though. I think I am the anti
and
foster of failure.
well,
I'm like the opposite. And not to say that that's right.
Right.
That's probably wrong. Actually, it is wrong. Actually, look at that.
So we were talking about solving problems for good, right? A lot of times we band-aid problems, right? So we miss something on a food safety audit, right? And we're like, okay, well, we need to put that on a checklist. Well, then we have a checklist and it's got 82 things on it. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We don't evaluate the checklist. We just go say, okay, let's add that to the list. And then you're wondering why leaders are submitting lists at the same time. Like, we have a 9 a.m. list and like a 1 p.m. list, and it's like they submit at the same time. And like, why do they do that? Well, because they never had time to finish the 82 things on the checklist. And so we started talking through it today, and she was like, yeah, I've been asking some questions around, like, why are they submitting them at the same time? And she goes, what I've realized is, though, there's just way too much stuff on there. And I was like, okay. And she goes, and I've been the one adding it. She's like, I've been adding all those things for them to check. And she's like, next week, what I'm really going to do is I'm going to go through those lists. I have extra time next week for an hour, and I'm going to read through the list and I'm going to edit them to what we really need to focus on. She's like, why are we checking this when we already checked this at 8 a.m. and then we're checking it at 9 a.m. and then we're checking it at 10 a.m. Like, I really need to go fix those lists. And instead of me being like, yeah, I would have done that a long time ago. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, like, make the list smaller.
Yeah.
Let her fail in that area. But we started talking about, well, that also costs labor.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have to do an 82 82 point checklist, that's costing us a lot of labor. That could be an area that we're failing in as well. And so I just started asking her 5 questions about it. And it got her to a point where she was like, man, next week I'm going to spend an hour and I'm going to look at this checklist we do, and I'm going to look at this checklist we do, and I'm going to make sure that we're not like overdoing things and just checking things that we don't even need to be checking. I was like, okay, great, you go do that. But that gave her a sense of confidence. She kind of failed in that area. But I wasn't going to point that out.
Whoever she is.
Yeah.
So I think
I did say he, so it's not Neff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing is we get caught up in what we've built that we forget that it took trial and error to get there. And we don't want to have other people do that trial and error. We're like, it's already good. Like, I'd rather just like give you the answer because I don't want you to mess up the trajectory that we're on. But the trajectory never just goes straight. It goes up, it goes down, and it's like the stock market. But over time, it's still going up. And so I think we sometimes can forget that real easily when we're in these roles that like we're like, oh, like we've done it this way and it's worked out for us. So like don't mess it up. And I'm like, no, it took errors. We probably cost other people money with the failures that we made. But it's now their time to figure that out so that they can be there one day just like we are, and hopefully one day be even better than we are.
Oh, I remember I used to say to leaders when they would bring an idea that I had already tried, and I was like, that doesn't work. And I'd move on. And it's like, I'm not even listening to them anymore because I had tried that. And I'm like, yeah, but I had tried that 3 years ago with a different staff with like, it was just different at the time. And so I think now I try not to say that.
Yeah.
Because
They were picking something.
yeah,
No.
what's over there, Alex?
No, I'm good. I'm reconciling things within myself.
You're growing right now.
You're growing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess we have maybe a different struggle, I guess, over here. I think just more so like leaders taking that leap to even try to fail or try to make a change. Just like they're too scared to even like, I guess, move the waters, like, to make something happen.
Or have we made it clear that we can move the waters and that there's a safety net and that they can fail only so much before we're gonna go in, because I think it's also important that they know that you're gonna go catch them at some point. Like we can't let them just like drop. Like there's certain things that are gonna be out of their comfort zone, but then there's other things that are even way beyond those things. And so
So you don't recommend like
knowing-
crashing and burning and like total like
just because it worked for you or worked for me doesn't mean that's
you
the
don't
correct
need-
way for everybody else to go down.
No, I think it's more so like working. I think they might come up with an idea, but I guess maybe they get too, lost in the possibilities. Okay, so you have this, idea of what you want to do. You just taking that time out of your schedule to like work through the process, to bounce ideas off, because I think we take for granted, like I have Alex every day, we're bouncing ideas off each other, and they might not have somebody who's like minded, in their same path to bounce those ideas. So I think just pausing to work through that with them has, helped.
and I think y'all have all kind of said like something very similar that I that resonates with me is just we're in different seasons and different generations of the business. Like there's different, you said it very well. It's like, hey, I tried that 3 years ago with this configuration of a team. You know what, it might work this go around, and so let's give it a roll and we'll lean all the way into it to see if it give it a shot to work. So but that's valid though. That's real and valid.
I don't want to I don't guess I stifle the spirit of somebody trying something.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think I'm almost 40. It scares me to say it sometimes, but like the generation now, if they're not going to be good at it, they're just not going to try. And I think that that's a very different mindset from my generation. Is we're big like, let's go do it. Let's try this out. Let's try that out. Whereas this generation, like if success isn't written all over it, I'm just not gonna do it. And I'm like, I had a leader recently, that I made her go look up 3 of the most successful people and look up their failures and bring them back to me. And she looked up Bill Gates, who's the guy that
Zuckerberg or Bezos.
I mean,
All the people.
yeah, like three very well-known people. And she brought to me a list of failures of all of them. And I was like, they're people who are willing to try.
Yeah. I think it's hard. It's like when they spend, majority of their off time just scrolling, and all you see is the best part of someone's day, and they compare that to the worst part of their day constantly. I think that, that has been a struggle, for the newer wave of leaders, for them to overcome that. Because it's not, every day isn't going to be a smooth shift. Like, you're going to have call outs, you're going to have, just different situations that happen, and you have to just learn how to shift in the moment and, get things done.
I think risk is the price you pay for opportunity.
Yeah.
And in opportunities, you're often going to find some success, but you're not going to find it when you take no risk.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Without risks, there's no great reward. So I don't like to stifle people who at least want to try.
Definitely.
But they're also not going to do it. And like, I think you've got to think through, like, if they don't do it in the way that I would have done it, don't stifle that as well. Because I know that's something for me that I'm like, you could have done this faster, or it could have been done differently. And if you want it done in a certain time frame, for sure, give them the time frame. Hey, by Friday, I want you to bring your idea fully fleshed out. Like, bring it to me. Let's talk about it. But I just think that you've got to, like, cultivate an environment where failure is okay, so that people do want to take risk and take chances. And I mean, those typically end up being your best leaders, is ones who are willing to even take risks that maybe you wouldn't take. So
Definitely. No, I think that it reminds me of something that Dan Cathy said. He was like, we marry the vision and we flirt with the methods. And so, the way we go about reaching the goals that we have, the way we go about, just getting the things that we want, the vision of what we wanted the finish line to look like can be the same, but just how we run the race could be different. So no, very well put. So and I guess this conversation as a whole it really kind of, for at the time of this recording, resonates with what we've been talking about in our lead betters. Like, we just had a lead better. We talked about, self-awareness and different things. And I think, having a true ability to lead up is really a reflection of how emotionally intelligent you are. And to add to that, not only the emotional intelligence piece, but being on the same page. I heard a lot of what you guys were saying, just was about, are we here for the same reason? Not only did we state that we're here for the same reason, but are our actions a reflection of us wanting to be trying to accomplish the same thing and doing the same thing? So I think that it sounds like to me the foundation to leading up and what everything that we've been talking about really rests in, hey, are we here to do the same thing? And are we emotionally intelligent enough? Are we aware enough of what it is that each of us bring to the table? Are we aware of our strengths and weaknesses? Are we aware of the things that we possess to make the business go forward as it relates to the guardrails that are present? And so I think everything that you guys have said so far speaks directly to, a leader's ability to lead up. And I guess the last thing, and this might be a little redundant, but I just kind of, wanted to just kind of zone in on this and specify, but like, if you had to list out the qualities that a leader would have for us in our position, if someone's trying to lead up to us, what would give them credibility in your mind to be able to substantiate you validating their opinion in them trying to lead up? And there's been some things, I think we've said it at large, but just quantifying it, as we wrap up this episode, kind of just like as our last piece, what are those things you'll be looking for in a leader? Maybe your top 3 to 4 attributes that you look for in a person to really hear what they're trying to bring to you in leading up.
So I've talked to Neff a lot about this recently, but for me, I'd say the number one thing is a growth mindset. Like, I want people who are pushing themselves past what they think they're capable of. And there was a speaker at one of the conferences that Chick-fil-A just put on, and I've kind of been watching some of the reruns of it. And one of the leaders, he talked about dark work. And it's the work that you do in the dark, the work that nobody else sees, the work that you do for free. We do a lot of that. And I think in a leader that wants to be in our position, you have to do a lot of that. You have to be willing to put in the time, the effort, sometimes even the money, to get to where you want to go. And so for me, I like that growth mindset and like willingness to push past where you think you're capable of. I need to see that, or I don't think you'll make it. So growth mindset and willing just to do the work.
I think one for me would be, are you able to listen and anticipate? Are you able to take cues from conversations that we have to understand what matters and what's important to me right now in the season, and be able to go on and like take it and run with it and do something about it? And that's something I've had to learn to do with Javonna here. Like she'll talk about something and I'm like, and without her saying like, hey, I need you to go do this, like I'll be like, okay, we probably need to focus on this, or like, and then like it just tells you like they're paying attention to what's being said without it being said physically. And so I think that's something that not a lot of leaders have, and something that they don't know really how to foster. But it's something super important and super helpful to have people around you that can just listen and anticipate the needs that are going on in that season of business.
Yeah. I mean, y'all both said good. I was like, that was a great thing. I think also too, I guess just to piggyback on both of what y'all said, being coachable, like I guess your growth mindset, but also to seeking wisdom and feedback from whoever you're leading up to. And just to see how they would like you to grow, or their feedback about you, but also too with what you said, Neff, is just getting it done. Like those tasks. It's like normally whoever you're leading up to, they have even a bigger plate of things to handle, but they can use somebody to get those things that they're thinking of, just getting them done, knocked
Mhm.
out. But also too is you staying connected to the people below you, because that's going to help whoever you're leading up to be successful if you have those relationships with those under you. Because without those people, we wouldn't have a job, at the end of the day. So, maintaining those relationships also, I think, will help whoever's in our shoes be successful. What would you say, Alex?
Did we give you anything good here? So I said growth mindset, doing the work.
Yeah.
Neff said
Listen and anticipate.
listening and anticipating.
I guess mine like
coachability and relationship, I would say, like relationships above and below.
Yeah, no, I guess the one that I like the most, and I guess I'll just rephrase it, is what Neff said. Like there is some value of having somebody who is, or a group of people who are in tune with what you're thinking about, and then their actions just complement what you do. Like I don't know how familiar you guys are with like NASCAR driving or anything like that. Like, and for those of you who are really into it, I'm probably gonna mess this concept up, but like there's it's individual sport, but there's teams of cars driving together, and there's this concept of like drafting. Like if you're behind the cars, like the car in front of you should be able to accelerate you around. There's something with the dynamics of the wind that goes on. Jeremy, am I in the right direction? Am I in the right vein? And so for me, I think like that's what I think about. Like when you're like clicking with people on your team, it's like yeah, you might be in front of them, but then like they're gaining momentum off of you, and then you're able to slingshot them forward based off like the synergy that y'all have. You just know what's going on. So like I mean, I share in those moments, and I think sometimes like when it's someone new, like they might have been watching what you've been doing and kind of paying attention to how you think about certain things, and then they act out of nowhere in the direction that you I would have made the decision. Oh, okay, cool. Not to say that it's all about them making a decision like you would. It's more so understanding like, okay, we're in the same field here. We're in the same ballpark of like foresight. So like, yeah, definitely having like just being around people who can anticipate like, okay, just by the look, you can tell just by you about to turn on the head, you know what's about to happen, you know what's coming. You know what I'm saying? So I think that when is a time for that individual like that to lead up to me. I'm kind of like what because I feel like hey, we're in the same lineup here. What's up? What do you think? You have and then people can tell you. Like the people, I don't say I respect. That's I respect everybody, but like the people who really got my attention is the folks who I think do that very well. Like if I feel like we're in sync, like you can tell me, hey, I think you do this terribly. I would really listen to it. I would really give it like consideration and go, maybe you're like, okay, maybe I could do that better for real. Because I feel like we're, like and again, like if it's a new team member who said, oh, well, why do you do that like that? Well, you don't have any context of why this is happening. versus somebody who got that. So yeah, I really like that. I don't mean to just dwell on that too much. This is good too.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Like I think a person who has a growth mindset, there's various roles. Everybody can't just be yes to what Alex, Robert, or Ashley wants, or whoever the the DLs, however the structure is. There are some people contrarian thoughts are valuable too, but like it makes it easy when some people are on the same page with you and you want to run. And they're willing to run with you. But so this was a fantastic episode. Thank you all for sharing. I think I let me tell you this. Y'all saw I was sweating bullets when I first walked in. Cool as a fan right now. I'm in pocket. I've been in pocket for like the last 30 minutes. Like for the first 15 minutes y'all was here, I was like, people in my space, people I know everybody, but like y'all just never been here before, so it's a little awkward. But like no, like literally, I'm dry. Like I don't need, I'm dry as a. I don't want to be dry, but like I'm good. Any closing words, comments, remarks before we close out?
Yeah, I guess just check out our monthly free lead better.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Get us back on track. That's what I'm talking about.
Our next lead better is emotional intelligence part 2, and me and Neff are gonna lead the emotional intelligence part 2. So
bang. Yep. No, and then go to tpenow.com to find out about everything that we're doing. TPE. We have free content on our Instagram at TPE Now. All right. And I'm sorry, the Google went off. I'll just be transparent on the recording. It kind of threw me off a little bit. But until next time, TPE family, peace.
Tap into the Pivot Experience where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.